Welcome, everyone. I am absolutely delighted to welcome today Tineke Tames to the show. Career change and creativity coach, part-time portrait artist, graphic recorder and cartoonist, and the host of Pick and Mix, the community of creative, multi-passionate women. Now, I love that. And you sound as multi-passionate as I am, and it's such a pleasure to be able to own that. So I would like to start by asking you to maybe explain in your own words who you are, what you do, and why you do it before we get on to our topic for today, creating your career freedom after 50.
Yes. Yes. So hi, everyone. Hi, Julie. It's lovely to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I am Tineke. I live in the UK, in Brighton, have done for many, many years. I am originally Dutch, hence the Dutch name, which gives me away every time.
Yes, but in a nice way. We were actually joking with Tineke that we've exchanged. So I'm the Brit living in the Netherlands, and she's the Dutchie living in the UK.
Exactly that, exactly that. So yeah, you did a lovely introduction of me already. I spent 25 years of my career in a corporate role, or in corporate roles, I'd like to say. And the last 4 years of which I spent I spent getting out of corporate,
Right.
basically, getting really to grips with who I was, what I wanted, where I wanted to go, all by myself with books. I love books, and with TED Talks and with all sorts of self-reflection going on. 4 years that took me, and what I ended up with was on a sheet of paper, 5 circles. And they said, women, change, work, art, books.
Aha.
There is no job in the world that does
Yes.
all that. Make sense of that. So that for me was a pivotal moment, because at that moment I saw that no, there was no job that contained all that. The expectations that I had of a job were way too high, because if I was going to, spend 10, 15 hours thinking about work, traveling to and from work, and working itself, and all of that was not doing what was in these 5 circles, then yes, I was going to be unhappy. And that is when I decided to completely change and create the business that I have now, in which I do work with women, help them to change their careers, have a side hustle / part-time career as a portrait artist / cartoonist, and all of that, doing what I love. And I get to read lots and lots of books and talk about that too. So yeah.
How
That's
amazing.
yeah.
I mean, I congratulate you, first of all, on the journey, because when we are in corporate, we tend to stay stuck in corporate. And the older we get, in a way, the more we're scared to actually move out, because we're a bit like, well, I've done it this long now, and what about my pension? And what about security afterwards? And people around you wishing will sort of say, oh, no, don't rock the boat, you're safe there. But you recognize with age, I mean, that's something that I come across, is we get clearer and clearer, not always on what we want. And so I find that particularly inspiring that you came up with your 5 circles. But most of us start to get a lot clearer on what we don't want, right? And that we don't want to be spending so many of our hours doing something which doesn't fulfill us, where we don't see our mission or passion. We start to realize that, life is precious. Not that the years are counting, because, I mean, come on, after 50, some people do another 50. So, I mean, we're not anymore, at that last stage of your life where, but still, you are aware that, that age and that life is going by. So I congratulate you on having done that, and then having had the courage to say, okay, these 5 circles are me. This is what I stand for. And if I don't find something which has all of these 5 circles in, then I'll create it on my own terms.
That's right. That's right. And it is a difficult journey. It is, but I find, from your 40s onwards into your 50s, you're going through this perfect storm, aren't you?
Right.
Your circumstances change, your kids are growing up, your parents are
Exactly.
getting older. If you're in a job and you are unhappy, that same job 2 years before might have been perfectly all right.
Exactly.
But now all of a sudden you're fed up with it, you're
Yeah.
unhappy, the whole menopause thing kicks in. All of these things are leading to, and then you go through a developmental stage as well, aren't you?
Yeah.
Where up until that point you might have wanted to conform, have wanted to
Yes.
fit in, with society, the messages that you get from that, your family, your friends, your workplace, your job description, all these
Yes.
things. You have to fit it in.
Yeah.
But now you want something for you.
Yeah, I think we become clearer on who we actually are. The
Yeah.
real us, not the real us, which has gone through conditioning, parents, education, bad experiences, etc. But that flame which is under all of that, and to go back to. So when you say you did this alone, you didn't actually do this with a coach. You literally did
You
this
know
all by
what?
yourself.
You know what? I didn't know
Mm.
about coaching.
Mm.
I was in a corporate role. I'd never heard of coaching
Mm.
as a profession.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known anyone who did that work. So I just did what a lot of people do, which is basically get all the books
Yes. Yes.
that you
Get the
can
resources, right?
yeah, get the
yeah.
books and then Google your way to an answer. And that is what you start doing in the beginning. So I spent an inordinate amount of time researching
Right.
and looking on the outside for the answers until such time that I realized that the answers weren't going to come from the outside,
Right.
and that you no longer want to fit yourself into a job description, but that
Yeah.
you want to build something, that suits you.
Which
That
is
is
unique, your voice.
absolutely.
Yeah, I love what you're saying. And it's so true. And I believe that's where we find happiness. It's not particularly in our social status or the amount of money coming in. Yes, we do need some, because I did realize recently that, the multi-passionate side, if I may sort of tap onto that, which is very much what I have too. I have realized that because I live from it, as in there was no corporate or so long ago that it doesn't really make sense anymore. But the disadvantage was the financial side, is that I do tend to spread myself quite thin because I'm doing so many different things. I'm not a specialist in one particular area. But then, you discover other things. I've discovered this new affiliate marketing thing, which I would never have thought I did. But as you say, we go through different phases. And at some point, you find something which fits your values and which helps create that sustainable income on the side. But so basically, your mission then became to help women like you get the help that you didn't have back then, apart from your book. So you've condensed it all in together.
Yeah, I mean, I spent 4 years inventing this journey for
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
And what I've done is that all that knowledge I've now turned into what I call my career freedom program, which is
Right.
effectively a 5-step program that helps you move through that same journey, not in 4 years,
No,
but
right.
but in 3 to 6 months is the time that we spend together. And that doesn't mean, for some women that means that at the end of our time together they have created a different career, they have found a job or created their own
Company or something. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But for some people it will take longer because
Yeah.
their transition plan means that they need an interim plan to get them there. Or yeah, I had one client who had, gosh, she had like a whole spreadsheet of all the things that she needed to do, planned out, all the different, she needed training, she needed do something financially, she needed an interim job. All of these things are part of your transition plan.
But and as you say, some of us go through it at different phases. And it's,
Absolutely.
by creating this 5 program, you're creating a structure. And I think that in itself is very reassuring, even if at the end of it, you don't have the job, but you will have the awareness, you'll know what you need to work on, you'll know what are the steps that you need to do. And I think that's amazing. So you're talking about career freedom after 50. And that, of course, sounds great. And I'm a big girl about the freedom world myself. So But how do you define freedom? If you say career freedom, what is career freedom?
Yeah, so I can't describe what that means for you, but I found a really nice article, which I think was by Adam Grant at one point, but that talked about negative freedom and positive freedom.
Right,
And negative freedom was all about the things you want to get away
right,
from.
right.
Toxic workplaces, too much time spent in the
Yes,
office, whatever the negative freedom is. You talked about earlier about
yes,
not having any ideas.
yeah,
Well, I mean, it starts with that negative freedom. I want to
yes.
get out
And the
of
pain
where I
points,
am.
right? It's not so much the pleasure that we're looking for, it's the pain points,
Yeah,
right?
it's the
Yeah,
pain. And where people then stop is, oh, where am I then
yeah,
going? So the
yeah,
positive freedom, that is what we're defining. What does that mean for
yes.
you?
And it is
Um,
individual, right?
Absolutely is. So what I do with my clients is, first of all, to look at yourself. Yes, we'll do a bit of negative freedom. I'm never going to go there again. But we're also looking at ourselves to say,
Yeah,
okay, what are your strengths?
yeah,
What is really important to you? What are you great at?
yeah.
What do you love doing? And then also to start to painting a picture for yourself. Can you hear how I talk in painterly language?
Yeah,
Painting a picture,
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
painting a picture for yourself to say, this is the type of life that I want to lead, because
yeah.
it's not just about your career, it's about your
The whole
life.
thing, right?
Yeah, if you don't want to spend 4 hours a day in a train on your way to work, then do not find a job that makes you do that. These are the circumstances, but also what is in your 5 circles or
Right,
whatever amount
exactly.
of.
And that is the hard bit, right? And
Absolutely.
it really resonates with me what you're saying, because most of us, but I think also in general, talking with somebody the other day about things like the Arab Spring and all the changes that we've had, it's a lot easier to know what you don't want and then rattle at the gates and say, we don't want this, we don't want this. But then there's like a void on the other side of what do we want and what does work. And I think that's in particular where, having a coach helps, because it's
Mm.
just somebody asking the questions, right? It's not rocket science, but it's somebody really asking you simple, straightforward questions which make you realize what you do want. Because a lot of us do stay stuck in the, okay, I don't want this, but the actual visualizing of, okay, so if I have career freedom, what does that look like for me? So that's what you do. Now, okay, this is something that I would say I wish on everyone, right? To have career freedom, whatever the definition of that is to that one person. What would you say are the main reasons that we don't?
Yeah, so ideas, we talked about that
Right.
already. We can define very, very clearly what we don't want, but then what do we want?
Yeah.
Now, for myself, I worked as a change manager before. I implemented other people's ideas. So to come up with ideas for yourself, and as women even more so, because we have a tendency to put others first.
Yeah. And to want to please, right?
We think about them first, and to then be able to say, this is what I
Mm,
want.
mm,
Straight away that guilt.
mm.
This is selfish.
Exactly. It's a generational thing in a way, though, isn't it? I remember even when I started this podcast, so quite a few years ago, because I think you'll be episode 141 or something like that.
Okay.
I remember talking with my mum, and she said, it's really interesting all you're doing with these women and asking themselves. She said, but I never asked myself that sort of question. She said, I was just happy, doing this. She did have a great career, but, looking after the family. She said, I never. So almost that guilt thing, like, but that's very selfish, isn't it? Spending hours and coaching and all of this, finding out who am I and what do I need. And I'm thinking, but no, it's not, because how can we be happy and supportive people, mothers, sisters, employees, whatever, if we don't have that happiness inside us? I believe it's only happy and balanced people who can contribute to helping others. And I think that's also why, in particular at this age, we are finally saying, okay, what is it that I'm good at? What is it that I can contribute to society with? What is the thing that I haven't yet, really tried to develop?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also about this sort of sense of urgency, isn't it?
Mm,
To say, okay, if I don't do it now, then
yes,
when am I?
that's what I say. If not now, when? It really is, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
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 absolutely. So there is that sense of urgency starting to brew. But yeah, then there comes the question of, okay, what am I going to
yeah,
do then? What's that going to look like? So that's pretty much the number one barrier, standing on the ledge and,
yeah,
and not knowing where
yeah,
to go next.
yeah.
Other things, you get quite practical about money.
Yeah,
Money is,
money. I mean, to be honest, that's what I hear the most people say. It's money. The number of friends that I know who are still in corporate, and when we meet, they're a bit like, gosh, how you live. And for me, location freedom is very important. I like traveling a
yeah,
lot. I have my
mhm,
computer under my arm, and I just go wherever I can afford to go at
yeah,
that moment, and I work
yeah,
from there. And they would wish to get out of, as you say, toxic environments or bosses they don't believe in, or something they've been working on for so long they're not quite sure they feel as passionate about it anymore. But I hear mostly money, security. I'm already over 50. The
yeah.
pension's just round the corner. And then you do keep yourself in. But I mean, I don't know, the UK probably too. Us, the pension age is going back and back and
Same.
back.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
mean, when you're in a role that you don't like doing and you think you still have so many years to go, people have this sense of urgency, but at the same time also still have
Mm.
10, 15, whatever long in
Yeah.
front of
Yeah.
them. Are you going to do that for another 15
Yeah.
years? Goodness me. No, you're not.
No.
My grandmother was 100 years old last
See,
when
that's exactly what I mean. We might have another 50, right? You don't know.
we also need to start thinking differently about our lives, because
Very
if
true.
we are going to turn 100 years old, which is a fantastic, great old age, and not
Yeah.
everyone is going to get there, although the odds in my family are quite good.
Yeah. And it
But
is getting longer and longer.
absolutely,
Yeah.
if you're going to have that, I am not even thinking
No.
anymore
No.
about I'm going to stop at 65. And
But it's a whole different way of seeing work as well, isn't it?
absolutely,
I mean, I
absolutely.
work every day, but people are like, oh, I'm like, no, but I love it. This is who I am, and this is what I like doing. There is no retirement. I'm freelance. I have my own thing. There is no real retirement yet. Sure, that's why I've also joined this affiliate marketing thing, because I do want to create something where, should I wish to work less, but otherwise, my definition of work is I do what I'm passionate about. So,
Absolutely.
is it work? Somebody was like, yeah, but is that really work? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? How do you define work then? Does work have to be grueling and horrible? I'm hearing you say lots of things. The urgency is almost even more there now for us because of this increased lifespan, and also because we have gifts to give back, and also because we deserve to have a fulfilling life, etc. So, first of all, you have the coaching, which is something that I would recommend for everyone. I came across coaching also by chance in Berlin. I thought coaching was for football players. I didn't really know this whole concept. But anyhow, once I had understood what it was, I was like, wow, that makes super sense, worked for me. And then I became one. We see what works for us. We're talking to a broad audience here. There will be corporates, there will be freelancers, there will be people who don't have a particular job apart from the huge job of running their families or whatsoever. What tips would you have, or how should one even start? Because we're not saying that everybody has to rock the boat either, are we? Some people may be very happy.
Absolutely, and good luck to you.
Yeah.
So to me, the very first thing is, at this age especially, you've got an opportunity. So if we think of career change as this really scary thing, and I mean, I've just been talking about all the barriers that might be in your way of doing that, but it's an opportunity. You are in a next developmental stage, you are becoming you, and that has so many opportunities with it, and you get to play and explore that. That
Yes.
is what is exciting about it. And the other thing is about, when we talk about ideas, this is an exploration. You get to be playful. Go, if you absolutely have no idea, no ideas, absolutely none whatsoever, then just go and do the tiniest little thing that you love doing. For all I care, buy some glitter and stick it on a card. I don't,
Right.
just do something creative, do something fun. Follow, if you've seen something online that you're interested in, read about it, read a book about it, listen to a podcast, whatever. Just get curious.
Right.
Get curious about yourself and about your interests, and just go and follow your nose for a little bit, because you are exploring you.
That's right. It is a game. We're not sort of saying, okay, we're going to break everything. It's also just asking ourselves, well, what did I used to like doing, when I was little or something, before you get into the, okay,
Absolutely.
school and then university and then job or what's up for those of us who do go that path. It's just remembering, what did you used to like doing best?
Absolutely. And I also run the Artist's Way group, which is starting again in a couple of weeks. And that also is about rediscovering that creativity, rediscovering the real you sitting inside, and your creative brain that you need to come up with these ideas, to let that be heard.
Right.
Over the noisy, logical voice who
Yeah.
wants a step-by-step plan to get you from A to B. Let your creative voice get to the table, sit down at the table and let it be heard. So that's what I believe is really important in career change. It's a creative process. That's what
I
I
love the
believe.
fact that you're saying that, because it's almost like in juxtapositions how most people think job, they automatically first think corporate, or the opposite of creative. Whereas if I understand well, a lot of what you do is based on creativity. And for those who don't know the book, The Artist's Way, it's a beautiful book. It's a self-coaching, right, book, and you run a program on it about the artist's way. So straight away, my rational brain is like, but gosh, I'm terrible. I did a drawing course once, and the teacher almost begged me to stop because I was getting so frustrated and not getting my perspectives right, etc. But art, creativity comes in very many forms. I love writing, I love acting, but also I believe that as women, we are creative. Well, first of all, we are creators, right? We create life.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of us underestimate that we are all creative. It doesn't mean that we're a singer or a dancer or a painter, but that there is a part of us that maybe we haven't explored. And again, if not now, when? But with a fun, curious,
Playful.
twist on it, not on a, I've got to find my thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and the more you do that, that is your logical brain, wanting the answers. Whilst
Yes.
actually, you know what it's like when you come up with ideas. It probably happens in the shower, or when you go for a walk, or just before you fall asleep. Yeah,
Yes.
not
Yes.
when you have a piece of paper and you're working out a logical plan that goes from A to B to the end. That's how creativity works. You need to bring it to the table to come up with these ideas. If your logical brain could do it, wouldn't it already have done it?
Yes, exactly. So exactly, that one can have a break, right? That one's worked very hard for the last, I don't know how many years. Yeah, and then just have the confidence to do that as well, right? Confidence is I guess, the important thing, is to dare put ourselves out there, especially if it's something new. I mean, we may
Yeah.
think it's new, maybe it's something that we did as a child, but something that we haven't done as an adult.
It's funny, that one, the confidence, because for me, confidence is a thing that comes after action.
Oh,
As a small child, you didn't learn to ride your bike by reading the manual. You climb on your bike and you fall off and you hurt your knee and you cry to your mum and you go back on your bike and your dad helps you down the path.
yeah.
It is, you play, you
Yes.
do it. And then
Yes.
at one point, goodness me, how proud are you going on those two wheels? And that is what I
That's
believe.
so true.
Yeah, and that is what I believe in career change as well. If you're going to wait for confidence to land on you, like some sort of,
No, it can't, because you haven't tried it. So how can it land?
Yes, we talk about confidence for a bit in my coaching program, but what we're going to do as well is going to
Take
real
action.
steps.
Try it, right? And again, with that playfulness, try it. Just try
Yeah,
it for the fun
and
of it, not, and without expectations, without self-criticism and judgment and all of that, right?
absolutely. And one of the things I do in my coaching program is, for instance, to talk about strengths with others. And that has two benefits. One is they will tell you something you didn't know about yourself. And the second one is, it's just nice because you're asking about your strengths. They're going to say nice things to yourself.
Yeah.
Everyone I work with who does that exercise comes away bolstered. and feeling more confident. This is what my colleagues tell me about me.
Yeah. So that's something we could already use as a tip, right? For those who are listening today. So you ask your environment, so that can be family, friends, work, etc., what your top 5 strengths are or something like that.
Yeah, and why? And just listen to them.
That's a really good tip.
Yeah, just listen to them and see what they say. And yeah,
And we might be surprised, right? Because we're usually the worst, right? The more years go by, the more I'm aware of how harsh we are on ourselves, that we would never be like that with anyone else. But right, we're almost approaching the end, Tineke. Anything else you would like to add about career freedom after 50?
For me, the last thing really is about, start taking little steps.
Right.
Whatever those little steps are, if you're unhappy where you are,
Mm.
do something. And it doesn't matter what it is. You don't have to, do the big gesture, throw your job in, and nowhere to go, and risk lots of things. Take little steps. People get stuck in the idea that you have to make the big gestures because otherwise
and you have
it's
to have
not
everything ready in advance, a bit like your client that you were saying with all her steps and all of that. I mean, we hide behind those things as well, don't we? We hide between,
We do.
oh, I'm not ready, oh, I've got to. We're not talking, as you say, about throwing everything in. We're just talking about trying something new, right? Or to ask yourself those questions.
Yeah, and most importantly, there are no wrong steps.
No.
Yeah, apart from the really big one that you're dreading to take, you don't need to.
No.
There are no wrong steps. If you start with finding out about yourself, then that forms the basis of whatever it is that you are going to do going forward. So there are no wrong steps. But the other thing is make a decision. Decide that you want to do something else, that this is no longer fitting you. Decide and don't waver on that.
Yeah, decide and do it right. It's just, it's just literally do it. And we deserve it, right? You deserve to be heard. You deserve to be you. Tineke, thank you very, very much. A lot of very wise words there. The name of your company, maybe for those who are not looking at the show notes.
Oh, if you search for my name, Tineke Tames Coaching, you will find me.
Tineke Tames Coaching. So do look her up. Also, if you're interested in taking part in the Artist's Way workshops that Tineke, which is perhaps, I think, a nice way to start, just asking yourself the questions. Thank you very much. And indeed, take action. Let's do it. If not now, when? And we deserve it. Speak to you all this time next week.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.